In the winter of 2010, somewhere between mid-December and early January, an inexplicable event unfolded as I drove home from work one night. The clock had just struck 11 p.m. as I finished closing the store, and the snow had begun to fall lightly. It wasn't sticking to the roads, so driving wasn't a problem. As I navigated the back roads leading home, a movement caught my eye on the side of the road. In the glow of my headlights, I glimpsed a dark figure standing amidst the pristine white snow. It was an animal of some sort, its fur stark against the wintry backdrop. I continued driving, but an uneasy feeling nagged at me. Eventually, I slowed down, and just in time, as something darted across the road in front of me. It was too quick to discern, but I narrowly avoided a collision. Pulling over to the side, I paused to collect myself. Yet an eerie sensation persisted, as if unseen eyes were upon me. Peering into the darkness beyond the trees, I spotted another creature, similar to the one I narrowly missed. On all fours, its dark form blended with the night. Confusion enveloped me. Why had I encountered two of these mysterious animals so far apart? Dismissing it as mere coincidence, I resumed my journey homeward, though the feeling of being watched lingered. Despite maintaining a steady speed, I couldn't shake the sense of pursuit. Arriving at my driveway, the feeling intensified. Hastily, I parked and glanced into the rearview mirror, half expecting to see something behind me, yet there was nothing. Stepping out of the car, I froze. At the edge of the dimly lit driveway stood one of the creatures, its presence chilling. Racing inside, I secured the door behind me, but curiosity drew me to the window. Peering out, I searched for any sign of the creature, but it had vanished into the night. I checked every window, but the mysterious visitor remained elusive. By morning, the snow had covered any traces, leaving behind only memories of a night I could never forget. Enjoying the content? Subscribe now for more. It was one of those bone-chilling nights, the kind that sends shivers down your spine and makes you wonder why you bothered leaving the warmth of your home. I remember gripping my car's steering wheel tighter than usual, trying to navigate through the thick blanket of darkness that seemed to swallow everything in its path. Driving at night during winter is never a walk in the park, you know. The roads are slick with ice, and visibility is as clear as mud. But for some reason, I found myself there, walking along those desolate roads like a lone wolf searching for, well, to be honest, I didn't know what I was looking for. And then, out of nowhere, I saw her. A woman stood on the side of the road, her white coat blowing in the icy wind. At first I thought maybe she was stranded, or her car had broken down or something. So, being the good Samaritan, or maybe out of sheer curiosity, I stopped to see if she needed help. She looked exhausted, as if she had been through hell and back. Her hair was tousled, and there was that haunted look in her eyes that sent a shiver down my spine. But despite her obvious distress, she managed a weak smile when she saw me approaching. "Hey, are you okay?" I remember asking, my voice muffled by the howling wind. She nodded, but her eyes told a different story. They were begging me to do something, anything, to help her. So without really thinking, I offered her a ride. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Leave her out there in the cold to fend for herself? As we drove, she told me her story, how she was at a party, how she argued with her friend, and how she went out in a fit of anger. It was all pretty normal, I thought. Just two friends fighting on a cold winter's night. Nothing out of the ordinary. But then I mentioned the church. She said she needed to go to church, and that there was something she needed to see. That's when things started to get weird. I mean, weirder than they already were, if that's even possible. The church she was talking about was abandoned, a relic of a forgotten time. It loomed like a ghostly apparition, its crumbling facade barely visible in the darkness. However, despite its dilapidated state, there was something undeniably magnetic about it, as if it was calling me, inviting me to come closer. I parked the car and followed her inside, my heart beating hard in my chest. It was cold and damp inside, and the air was heavy with the smell of mold and decay. As I looked around, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were not alone. that there was something, or someone, watching us from the shadows. I couldn't get in, so I went to the sidewalk. By chance, I met a man from the town, and he said to me, "This church is deserted. Some residents of the small town of Willowsbrink in Chicago say it happened in the 1920s, while others say it happened in the 1930s. But whatever the correct date, everyone agrees that it was the starting point for all the mysterious and confusing things that followed. What is strange is that the events of that bitter night did not begin in an abandoned ruin or in an abandoned house, as we are accustomed to in most horror stories. On the contrary, it all began in a large dance hall, sparkling with lights and full of music and the shouts and laughter of men and women who had gathered to dance and have fun. Among them was a young blonde woman with wide blue eyes named Mary. She was wearing a white evening dress and white dancing shoes. She came to the hall with her friend, where they spent several noisy hours together, during which they danced for a long time. But a heated quarrel broke out between them late that night, which angered Mary and prompted her to put on her coat and leave the hall alone. The poor woman did not get far, as she was hit by a speeding car a few streets away, and the cowardly driver fled, leaving Mary alone, breathing her last on the side of the road. It gave me chills to hear him talk about Mary that way, as if she were a ghost, doomed to wander the earth forever. But before I could ask him further, he disappeared into the darkness, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I quickly got back into the car, my heart racing in my chest. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following me, that Mary, or what was left of her, was out there, somewhere, watching me from the shadows. I don't know what I believe anymore. All I know is that some things are better left alone. And driving at night in winter? Well, let's just say it's not for the faint of heart. So, this happened a while back, but I remember it like it was yesterday. It was one of those nights where you're just trying to get home after a long day and everything seems to conspire against you. Picture this. It's late, I'm in the capital, and I'm debating whether to crash at a hotel or tough it out and head back home. Work had piled up, so I decided to hit the road, despite knowing it's going to be a long, lonely drive in the dead of winter. So there I am, 3 hours into the journey, and nature decides to call. I pull over by this desolate stretch of road, surrounded by these eerie woods. Not gonna lie, the place gave me the creeps, but when you gotta go, right? So, I do my business, get back in the car, and not long after, the car starts shaking, like it's in the middle of an earthquake. I pull over again, and lo and behold, I've got a flat tire. Now, changing a tire in the dead of night, with nothing but the moonlight to guide you, isn't exactly my idea of fun. But I manage it, cursing under my breath the whole time. With the spare on, I get back behind the wheel, hoping that's the end of my troubles. Boy, was I wrong. About 10 minutes later, I start feeling this cold breeze on the back of my neck. At first, I chalk it up to the chilly weather, but then it starts getting stronger, like someone's breathing down my neck. I glance in the rearview mirror, expecting to see, I don't know, something, but there's nothing there. Still, the feeling doesn't go away. And then, out of nowhere, I lose control of the car. It veers off the road, crashing into a wall. I slam on the brakes, heart pounding in my chest, trying to make sense of what just happened. It felt like there was someone, or something, in the car with me, messing with the controls, making me crash. I sit there for what feels like hours, shaking like a leaf, until I finally gather the courage to get out and inspect the damage. The front seat looks like it's been crushed, like someone, or something, was sitting there when the crash happened. I don't know what to make of it, honestly. Maybe it was just my mind playing tricks on me, the stress of the long drive getting to me. But deep down, I can't shake the feeling that there was something more sinister at play that night. And let me tell you, I haven't been able to look at those woods the same way since. I immediately lied out of there and spent the rest of the night holed up in the nearest guard headquarters, praying that whoever rode with me wasn't planning to stay there. Morning comes, and I'm greeted by the sight of a tow truck pulling my car. The guards gave me a once-over, probably wondering what I was doing, but I was too shaken to care. At home, I tell my family the whole crazy story, hoping they have a logical explanation for what happened. But deep down, I know this isn't the kind of thing you can explain with logic. I still can't shake the feeling that whatever was haunting me that night is far from over. Honestly, I'm not sure I want to know what it is. Let me tell you about this one time when my buddies and I decided to head out for a winter picnic. Yeah, I know, it sounds kind of crazy, right? But we were bored out of our minds and just wanted some adventure. So, there we were, packed up in the car, ready to hit the road for what we thought would be a chill day out. We found this spot near a road, not too far, not too close to civilization, just perfect for what we had in mind. We parked at this rest station, you know, the kind you find on those long stretches of road, where you can stretch your legs, grab some snacks, and maybe even light up a cigarette or two. The vibe was pretty chill, with music playing in the background and all. We started setting up for our little picnic, spreading out our snacks, cracking open some sodas, and just enjoying the crisp winter air. Everything was going great until we noticed this dude walking towards us from the direction of a nearby hill. Now at first we didn't think much of it. We figured maybe he was just out for a stroll or something, but as he got closer we all started to feel a bit uneasy. He was just off, you know? Something about the way he looked at us sent shivers down my spine. And then one of my buddies noticed something that made my blood run cold. The guy had a knife tucked into his belt. I mean, who walks around with a knife like that, especially at a place like this? I could feel the panic rising in all of us as we tried to play it cool, exchanging awkward small talk with this guy. But all the while, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. I mean, what if he decided to use that knife on us? We were out in the middle of nowhere, with no one around to help us if things went south. Needless to say, we didn't stick around to find out. As soon as we could, we made some lame excuse about forgetting something in the car and practically sprinted back to safety. We didn't even bother to grab our stuff. We just wanted to put as much distance between us and that creepy dude as possible. We called the cops as soon as we got back to town, describing the guy as best we could. But to be honest, I don't think they ever found him. And even though it's been months since that day, I still can't shake the feeling of dread whenever I think about it. I guess some experiences just stick with you, you know, and this is one I'll definitely never forget.